Hello, dear students. Today I'm going to explain you the difference and the uses of gerunds and infinitives. Gerunds and infinitives play an important role in both grammar and reading comprehension texts. They're especially useful in doing complete the sentence questions. So let's right jump in. In this video, you will learn when to use the gerund and when to use the infinitive. But first, what is a gerund and what is an infinitive? Let me ask you this question. What do you love doing? So, some of you would say singing or reading. Someone could say hiking or walking, sleeping, or simply dancing. So these are all examples of gerunds. Now, what if I ask you, what do you want to do every day? So some would say, I am learning to draw, or I want to read a book, or I'm planning to study for the test, or I will soon decide to travel the world. These are also hobbies, but we used infinitives to describe them. So, gerunds and infinitives are very common in English language. They can be used in many situations. Sometimes you may use an infinitive and a gerund, but sometimes you have to choose between the two because using one may be completely wrong. Sounds confusing. Yes, it is. So, how do you know when to use a gerund and when to use an infinitive? So, let's start with explaining what infinitives and gerunds are. So, the gerund. What is a gerund and how to form a gerund? Well, a gerund is a noun that made from a verb by adding ing. For example, play, playing, swim, swimming, and run, running. So this noun names an activity rather than a person or a thing. And it's most importantly that any action verb can be made into a gerund. Well, pay attention. Let's take the verb walk and use it in two different sentences. The first sentence is I am walking. So this is the present progressive. Walking here is part of the verb. It's not a gerund. So let's have at the second sentence, I don't like walking. Yes, this is a present simple, but it contains a gerund. Walking in this case is the object of this sentence. So when do we use a gerund? So let's have a look at the following rules. Well, the first rule is gerunds can be used as a subject of a sentence, and basically they appear at the beginning of a sentence. Take a look at some examples. Walking is good for your health. Making friends has become more difficult since I moved to a new city. Becoming a millionaire is a dream of many young people today. So here, the gerunds, which are in bold, are part of the sentence. They are subjects: walking, making friends, and becoming a millionaire. So now let's move to rule number 2. Only gerunds are used after prepositions. So if we have a preposition that follows a noun, for example, I have an interest in becoming a painter. So in this case, we have interest as a noun, in becoming, in as the preposition. In this case, after in, we use a gerund. Similarly, if we have a preposition that follows a pronoun, for example, I forgive you for not telling the truth. So, you here is a pronoun, for is a preposition. So, in this case as well, we have to use after for a gerund. A preposition that follows a verb. For example, he looks forward to meeting his cousins and not he looks forward to meet his cousins. You have to pay attention to this common mistake that many people do. And finally, a preposition that follows an adjective. For example, my mom is scared of flying. So, the same way, it's scared as an adjective, of is a preposition, and flying is used as a gerund in this case as well. Rule number 3, after specific verbs. Here are a few examples of verbs that need to be followed by a gerund. Admit. They admitted changing the schedule. Avoid. She avoided looking me in the eye. Consider. I considered staying silent, but I had to tell her. Deny. I denied knowing about his secret. Involve. The course involved writing 3 tests. Risk. Don't risk losing your job. Suggest. I suggest reading more English short stories. Look at the following table. These are verbs followed by gerunds. Try to memorize them all. Now let's move to the next part, which is about the infinitive. What is an infinitive? So, the infinitive is the verb form that has to at the beginning. For example, to do, to sleep, to love, and to create. Now, when do we use an infinitive? Well, you need to remember these 5 rules. Rule number 1, after certain verbs. Here are a few examples of verbs that need to be followed by an infinitive. For example, decide. The president decided not to participate in the discussion. Promise. My friend promised to find the time to help me move. Expect. I expected to know my exam grade tomorrow. Learn. He learned not to trust anyone. Need. She needs to learn how to cook. Plan. We are planning to watch a movie tonight. And want. I don't want to go to bed yet. Now have a look at the following table. These are verbs followed by infinitives. Now let's move to rule number 2. In the structure, it is plus adjective plus infinitive. Let's have a look at the following examples. It's not easy to graduate from university. It's necessary to speak English to work in a hotel. It is wonderful to have close friends. It's nice to see you. It's difficult to notice her in the crowd. So, all the underlined words are adjectives, and the chunk of it is comes right before them. So, in this case, we use an infinitive after these adjectives. Now, let's move to rule number 3. In the structure, I am plus adjective plus infinitive. Let's have some examples. I am sorry to hurt you. I am pleased to meet you. I am amazed to hear her speaking English. I'm surprised to have you in my office. I am glad to talk to you. I am happy to go out with you. Now let's move to rule number 4. In the structure, to or not enough plus infinitive. For example, this dress is too big to wear. This car is too expensive to buy. My child is not tall enough to ride his bike. The course was detailed enough to widen his knowledge base. She hasn't got enough time to keep working. Now let's move to rule number 5. After certain verbs followed by nouns or pronouns referring to a person. For example, can I ask you to help me with something? I never expected him to become famous. I invited a friend to attend the ceremony. Please remind me to wash the dishes. The test required him to concentrate fully. That will teach you to follow the rules. Who told you to come here? And I'm warning you not to do this. Remember, gerunds and infinitives may be confusing, but they make our English speech more varied and colorful. It is very useful to study them and practice using them correctly. The more you notice gerunds and infinitives, the easier it will get. Sometimes you will be unsure if you need to use an infinitive or a gerund in a sentence. In this situation, try changing the sentence and saying what you want to say in a different way. Now, for more practice, I suggest you to check videos in level. Actually, it's the best way to practice and learn English. In this website, you may find um, music videos, news, and other types of fun real world videos. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. And if you have any question, you can post your question in our WhatsApp group or Google Classroom.